Good. So yes, this is working perfect. So I was actually quite happy that not so many were here, because I was feeling a little bit more relieved, and now more and more are joining, which is super nice. But this is actually the first time I'm talking about this topic, and we'll see how that goes. First question, who does not know AMORELIE? Ai, ai, ai. 2%, okay. So for you, I will give you one product. You can come up here. You can test it out. Thank you. So that you can get to know the company already. But I'm happy it was only 20 or so. So that's a good ratio. So what I want to talk about today, I'm Lea, founder of AMORELIE. What I want to talk about today is the 7 learnings I've had through running AMORELIE for 7 years. And actually 3 weeks ago I was at a different stage at the 6th of September in Berlin in the Humboldt Carré, and we were celebrating our AMORELIE birthday, which is actually in January, but we wanted to celebrate in summer for once. And we thought 6th of September, 6.9.69, you get the thing, maybe. It was a great date. Not as successful for the press as we thought this date. But anyway, so it was a great moment to actually look at everybody there and to see 140 of our employees and to see hundreds of our toy party consultants and to see 7 years of actually doing Christmas calendars left and right and up and down and everywhere. And so that was one of those moments where you stand there and you're taking kind of a mental picture and trying to bury that into your soul and keeping it for a long time, because you know that the road there wasn't always easy. It was definitely a lot of love and laughter and fun, but also a lot of tears and hardship and pain and a lot of effort. And there's this quote from Bill Gates, I don't know if you know it, but it's one of my favorites, and it says, success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose. And we've definitely not only had successes, but also areas of development or points of learning. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. So we'll start. First, learning. I'm not going to do a crazy slideshow. It's only 13 slides. So you're going to have to listen more than actually picturing the slides behind me. So the first one is actually, it's all about relationships. There's this amazing Harvard study. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's about happiness, and it's one of the longest studies ever done on adult life. And they wanted to find out what does make people actually healthy and happy for the long run. And in the beginning, they had 300 sophomores of the Harvard University, which they kind of followed on for their whole life and seen what makes them happy or healthy within 80 years. And they kind of got more and more people, so it's over 1,000 people in that study now. And the main thing which came out of that study is actually the quality of relationships. So if we, and this is obviously very high up there, but if we look back at one day at our life, what we actually care about is the quality of relationships. It's not actually how many you have or whatever, but the intensity and the depth and the truth and the honesty and kind of the trust bridge you have in your relationships. Why am I talking about this? Because that is the mission we have with AMORELIE. We actually think that we are making relationships better and more fulfilled by giving you a more fulfilled love life. And if you have friends who talk to you about it and say, hey, our sex life is amazing currently, but sadly our relationship is kind of struggling, that doesn't happen usually, because one connects the other and one influences the other, and so it's really, really important to care about your sex life. We've had this again and again, that couples talk to us and said, we tried the Christmas calendar or whatever, and it didn't work, and we didn't know where to put it, and it looked super weird, and yeah. That's daily business. And we didn't know how to turn it off or on. But it was an amazing experience. And that's exactly what happens. So you try out these toys, which you don't know what they are and for whom and how to turn them on or off. And it's super awkward in the beginning. But it's so nice because usually your intimate love life, you don't share with many people. Many of us, over 90%, actually share it only with one person, either ourselves or somebody else. And so it's really important to kind of foster that and take that serious. So that's why we really care about relationships, and we think that we are making them better by actually investing in the love life. And the second why I think it's all about relationships, it's because, and that was a big learning from me during the years, 4 years ago we actually partnered with DM. So today at every DM in Germany you can buy 5 AMORELIE toys there. And for them that was a big step because they've never done love toys before. And our team was there and my co-founder was there and so on, and they convinced them and it was a major success. However, for me it was a big learning until this day because now we've partnered with Douglas this year, so you will actually find our self-love calendar at the Douglas stores all over Germany. And this time we've done it differently because the sales approach to those companies is always AMORELIE wants to partner with DM, AMORELIE wants to partner with Douglas. But actually in reality it's Anne wanting to partner with Franzi or Sven deciding if Kevin will get his products sold in those stores. So even within B2B, and I think foremost within B2B, you realize that it's all about those personal relationships. It's all about the individual people within those big companies who are making that decision. Are we doing it or not? And do we want to support them or not? So for me as a founder, if I had to start all over again, I would invest that flight to Düsseldorf and that hotel, which in the beginning I didn't want to invest, to meet Tina Müller, CEO of Douglas, to actually know who we're working with and to get to know the people in those companies and behind those companies. So that is one big learning for me. The second one I'm obviously passionate about, but not going crazy on it, so you can relax. It is, women are actually a great investment. And not in terms of we want to do good for society and we need to raise the women up and give them a chance. No, it's actually a good economic investment. And I think I'm really happy that we got that right from the beginning on at AMORELIE. One is we're always fighting, all of us, for more and more revenues, and we're coming up with these crazy ideas and products and sales channels and so on. If you could actually just have diverse teams and get 20% more revenues. The same for female founders. They actually are doubling the return on investment versus the male founders, and nothing against male founders. But the female founders, there was a study from the UK, they get 1% of all funding goes to female founders in the UK right now. There's just been a study released from BCG that since 2008, there was only 4% of all startups actually founded by women, and 10% there was a woman in the leadership team. When those numbers clearly show that it's a super wise investment to go into women. And the last one is, women as customers, they control 70 to 80% of consumer spending, because usually they also buy stuff for elderly, for the kids, for the household, for all the West Wing furniture we need, and so on. So we are actually making those buying decisions on way more revenues and on the of the share of the pocket than the guys do. So if you actually look at our numbers, it's only 55% females, it's 45% males who are buying. But only 10% of the males are buying for themselves. So some of them might pay with their credit card, but it's usually the woman who decides if something is bought or not. And why is that such a big deal for us? Because when we started in 2013, the sex toy industry at that time was still those dodgy little shops at the train stations where you had to sneak through the curtains of purple and red, and you had to go behind the video cabinets, which you really didn't want to see anything of. And then you kind of went to the back, looked at some products, tried to hide away from the sales representatives who wanted to talk to you about those products, and then came out with a beautiful big brown paper bag. And that was kind of the great, creative, very inspiring shopping experience for buying things for your love life, which should actually be happy and fun and kind of like a foreplay momentum. But it was not, it was the total opposite. And that was also because the traditional competitors at that point focused on men. So we said we want to focus on women, we want to focus on relationships, and that's what we did. We also focus on women within our team, so we have 70% of leaderships are women. We have 3 in our managing directors team, 2, including myself, are women. That has been a big learning from me. If I would do it again, I would definitely have women in mind, as we luckily did from the beginning on. Next is a fully different topic, and I think that many of you probably know this saying, hard decisions, soft life, soft decisions, hard life. And that is so effing true in entrepreneurship. If you sneak away from making the hard decisions, they will bite you in the butt. And what does that mean? I think usually for me, the toughest decisions are on people. I think people topics are always the ones which go most deep, which are most emotional, which are most sensitive, to decide who do you want to have in your core team and what do you invest in. So our core team is currently this one, Uwe on the side being an interim managing director, but the others are our long-term managing directors. And I've definitely made my fair share of mistakes, and for me it has become super, super crucial to focus on the right people. I don't think there's actually bad employees or bad people. I think people need to find their right element. And I don't know if you know this cute talk from Eckhart from Hirschhausen, this penguin principle. And I love it. It's a small talk. You can watch it. It's very fun. It doesn't go too deep, but it's I think it hits the nail on the spot. And he actually says if you look at a penguin, they look quite small. They have a super big belly. They have a short neck. They have very short feet. They walk like this. So it's it's not you're thinking, okay, this was a misconstruction. And then you look at them in actually their own element, which is the water, and you're like, wow, okay, I can't do that. So that's actually quite impressive. And that's the same with people. We need to try to find out what is their natural habitat, what element do they need to feel comfortable in, and find that. And for me, as a leader, I live by the principle that I want to make my business long-term successful. So that's my job. My job is to give everybody who's working with me a safe future and be growing and be self-sustaining in the long run, and actually making the right decisions for the whole company. And that means also making hard decisions on many different fronts, but one of the hardest, I think, is people, and being kind of honest with them and making sure that your core team is the best it can be. When I think about people, I always ask myself, so if this person would actually leave tomorrow and go to my biggest competitor, how much would I fight today? And then I realize if I jump up, run, or if I'm like, yeah, that's fine, then that's probably not the right fit anymore. So that's something I would definitely focus on a lot. And then the same tough decisions also goes with topics which we just love to do. So we had this idea of making AMORELIE a lifestyle company. So we actually went into things like books. So we wrote a book, and we thought, at one point we want to have kind of every table should be from AMORELIE and whatever. Don't ask me who came up with that idea, but it was a wrong path. And we tried it anyways. And the closest in the lifestyle segment, which we saw to your love life, was smell and sensuality and kind of perfume. So we created our own perfume, and this was, I think, a year's work. We actually created an amazing perfume with Gesa Schön, who did the molecule perfume. And we had created one which is kind of an aphrodisiac, so it will turn you on. And hopefully. They are amazing, and they smell super. And I brought 2 of them with me for 2 of you today. However, they just didn't sell. And why? I think just because people are not looking for a perfume at a sex shop, which should be intuitive if you started, but you know, we thought you might take it in your basket once you leave or whatever. I think we sold around 5,000 within the last 1.5 years, which for us is definitely not a success. And so with this whole lifestyle segment, we actually at one point said, we need to cut it. We've invested 1.5 years, and it was nice, and we really tried, and I think we created a great book and 2 great perfumes, which are still amazing, but that's not the core what we're doing. So that's why we cut it down and actually said, okay, sadly, next one, hard decision, but your life gets much easier after focusing on that. Yes. Next is realistic timing. Realistic timing is everything. This is actually, nobody has seen this material ever, because it's our first pitch deck. It's only 4 slides of the first pitch deck. The pitch deck was much longer, I think 50. But these are 4 slides, and as you see, at that point of time, the company, or the project, was still called Lucy Sparks. Which for me still sounds like a porn name, and I'm so happy we didn't do it. But Lucy Sparks was created with the first pitch deck in December 2012. And I think nothing teaches you better timing than financing rounds. If you get the timing wrong, you're dead. So it's quite a 0-1, very binary thing. I'm super happy that I had my co-founder, who now became an investor. Luckily for him, that's exactly the right path, because he always cared about it so early on. So he would always start to talk to investors and get to know them before we actually need it. So this whole building your network before we need it, it's never so important as with financing rounds, I think. So you need to actually get to know them when you're not desperately needing money, because nobody really wants to finance desperation. We always took around 9 months, with him almost fully on funding rounds, and me being 30% on funding rounds. And we had obviously our whole pitch deck prepared and so on. And I think it's the most crucial part, and the one of the main things where I see entrepreneurs go wrong. I'm now investing myself in companies that they just start way too late with funding rounds, actually, when their cash is really falling down and they're not really self-sustaining anymore. All those numbers, I can put them up because they all went totally different in the end, so that's all fine information. 2 things I also want to talk about is realistic timing is also important on things you really want to do. So when we created AMORELIE, we actually wanted to create our own brands. So we wanted to build our own brands. But in the beginning, if you're selling 2 items a day, it doesn't really make sense to finance a whole factory and production. So I'm super, super happy that 3 years later, we were actually starting to build now 11 own brands, making more of 50% of our revenues, and being very, very successful with creating our own products. But it had to come to the right timing. You have usually minimum quantities you need to take from 1,000 pieces upwards, and it just doesn't make sense to do that before. You just have them on stock and all your capital is bound, so that doesn't make sense. So I think this realism also in your wishes and what you want to go for is actually super important. Then, one last but not least is another example, coaching. I see a lot of companies now and entrepreneurs actually starting and going and saying, hey, we're starting our business and we're getting a coach and a mentor and we're doing team buildings and so on and so on and so on. And I think that's all important and great. However, in the beginning, it's basically survival modus. So I think you don't really have the money to spend on coaches who are so extremely expensive, and on team buildings again and again and again. I think it's all about focus or fail and the right timing. So we are now, after 7 years, actually getting our first internal coach, which I'm super, super happy about. And obviously we've had trainings and we've sent people to trainings, but it's all in kind of a controlled effort, because if not, you just go crazy. And I think if you start a company now, the first years are just hard. You're just working all the time. You're not standing on conferences, and you probably also shouldn't be, apart from your pitching, because you just need to make kind of a name for yourself and get over this tipping point, and then you can actually do more and diversify more and invest money more. But in the beginning, the first years are usually you and your team heads down in the sand and water and everywhere and making it work. This one is a short one. Feste feiern, wie sie fallen. So you know that there's obviously sometimes for celebration. And I have read this book, which is called Big Five for Life. Who's read Big Five for Life from John Sivecki? Yeah, oh, many. So it's around half. So very unique book, but because it's written super American, I would say probably from the way it's like a whole story. But one thing really struck me, and that is kind of his museum principle. So if you think about kind of your life, and you're going to a museum in the end of your life, and every day will be a picture of every picture will be a picture of that day you actually experienced. So there's going to be pictures hanging up in the museum, and you walk along like your days and how they look like. And if I kind of envision that, there's going to be a lot of days where the picture on the wall would be me with Teams, me in front of Excel sheets, me in front of PowerPoint presentations, and many quite boring pictures, I would say. And that's why, especially, I can tell from my own experience, for me, it's really important to celebrate successes. Whenever you actually achieve something, in the beginning, my co-founder and me would always be too scared that we're losing it again. So we might sign a big partner like DM, but we wouldn't celebrate it because we're like, we don't know if this is going to work out. We would sign a big investor, and they wanted to invest in the firm, and we're like, but the whole round is not closed, let's wait for it. And so we waited a longer while and did not celebrate those successes. But you need those successes, and you need that energy and that euphorie, yeah, I don't know the English word, sorry. And you need that kind of, that feeling of strength, and I can do anything, and this optimism and this happiness to kind of keep you stable and optimistic in the times when it's not going so well. So this would be something I would do even more, actually just taking a time and saying, great, that was awesome. Learn to lead in their language, not yours. It's only 2 more to go. So this one is amazing. If anybody's looking for an inspirational speaker, you need to talk to Nigel Risner. I actually, the YouTube videos are not as professional, but he is amazing in person. And he has this theory, which is a little bit like about personalities. So most of the things we already said are done between people and with relationships, right? And with individual people. And those individual people are all from a different breed. Everyone's their own kind of animal. And if you quickly take 20 seconds, if not, I'm running out of time, and look at these 4 descriptions of 4 different characters, just think about which one would describe you the best. We are all a mixture of many, but one of you will describe you the best. And especially if it gets tough, if it's stress, if there's not enough time, you will kind of follow on your instincts mostly and jump to one. So maybe I'll quickly shut up so that you can read it. So, what I've learned from this, who can guess what I would be? Which animal would I be? Good one. Who said that? Yes. Okay, one perfume for you. You're welcome. Can you give this? Yes. So actually, it's a good one. You'll get one too. You'll get one too. So I'm a mixture between lion and monkey, but the main one, was that you? No. Thanks. They are amazing. They just don't sell, but they're amazing. And yeah, if you wear it tonight, you're going to see the effect, because there's going to be... you will see it. We'll see you later. We'll see you later. So I'm definitely a monkey. So if times are stressful, so lions are usually very determined, making decisions fast. You need to be super speedy and actually talk to them quite quickly, get a summary, get out of their way. Monkeys, you usually need energy, they need freedom, they need creativity, they want to bring their ideas in, they need everything being enthusiastic. Elephants are more your accountants. They are precise, they don't feel comfortable if you nail them down on numbers without them having had the chance to actually calculate it again. So those ones you are taking more time and actually talking more about facts and numbers and so on. And then the dolphins are caring, and you need many of those in your companies, because you need people who are not just about their own success, but actually give back to others. There's also a great book on give and take, but anyways. But that's one of the kind of traits of dolphins. They actually give, and they want others to succeed, and they're all about all of us together and the society. And why I'm talking about this is, and I think I've actually learned this only 2 years ago, so for my taste too late. Whenever I would incentivize people, I would be like, so we had this amazing success in 2017, and we actually flew with our whole team to Mallorca for 3 days. And for me, this was amazing, because I love Bierkönig and so on, and Mega Park, and this is amazing. And I love the songs, and I love standing up there, so don't do videos of me and Oktoberfest later on. For me, this is the perfect incentive and celebration. And I think it's great if my investors, who might be here, so please listen carefully, if they would want to incentivize me, they should probably give me a trip to the TED conferences next year, because I love them. They're in April in Vancouver, and just if you're Florian, if you're sitting here. No, but that would be a perfect incentive for me, because I love it. But for somebody who is an elephant, this whole Mega Park, Bierkönig, Mallorca thing might be a bit harsh and might be a bit too much. And so it's really important for us as leaders to actually talk to people in their own language and to understand what makes them successful, what do they need to actually bring out the best in them, and to give them contracts like that, to incentivize them like that, to treat them that way, to give them appreciation and value. And this is what I'm definitely focusing on more. Last one.
Yeah, you're so much running over time, Lea.
Yay!
Yeah,
last one is super fast. Love it, change it, or leave it. You're your own CEO of your own life, and it's all in your hands. And nobody's there to develop you. You're not a Pokemon. There's nobody like, woohoo. Now you're somebody else, next version. No, it's actually all you. So take that and make the most out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lea. Thank you so much. Have a seat. Really didn't mean to rush you, but I'm sure there are so many questions and we shouldn't run over time to get them answered. So I would love to see them on my screen if I could. And here they come. So let's see which one we're going to pick first. Oh, what's your biggest fail? That's always a good way to start. I mean, besides product that don't sell, if you would answer that intuitively, what was the most painful decision?
Biggest fail for me, when my co-founder left, we actually prepared it really, really early on.
Yeah.
And it was all going well, and I knew this was running smoothly. And I hadn't really thought about what he had done emotionally for the company and what he had been emotionally for the company. And I realized then, after he was gone, that all of a sudden everything felt super heavy and hard, and it was a lot of work and a lot of stress and a lot of responsibility. And I think that is what we and I often do. You only see kind of those things, and then when one part is missing, you actually see what other things you valued the whole time. And I think I would have managed that whole transformation differently if I had looked at the emotional part and value.
I see. What's the so there are people in the room who know that you also founded VC or Star Strike Ventures, and who know that you are investing. So in what kind of companies do you invest?
So I would love to say fintech and all of that crazy things, but I don't really get fintech, and so I'm usually investing in consumer products, or actually things I really understand and get. So I wouldn't be the best one investing in a banking app or any of those. But so far we've done Lily-Do, for example. It's organic baby products. We've done AD, who are selling shoes. We've done many different iPrice, which is a pricing comparison. So that one for me is
so everything
good.
Around
it's more around kind of consumer products.
Okay.
And very, very early stage, like most business angels.
Because of the investment sums, or because of the influence you can still take?
Yeah, both. I think we had 20 business angels when we started, so I truly believe in the actual value of business angels early on.
Yeah.
When you have all these questions still, and we're not investing as much, definitely as well.
Okay, there's some questions that are popping up here that I can try to combine. So there are some details popping up here. So 140 employees and only 8 babies. And there was also a question about how you can, how the team spirit actually is and what you can give as an advice to under 30 women. I don't know about you, you have 2 children, right? So you started under 30, I started after 30, so any way works. But what is it that you can, how is it in your team as a woman, and if you want to combine your work with family, or how does that look like at AMORELIE?
So the only 8 babies were only born within the 7 years of people who were active at that time. We have way more, actually we have I think 10, 15 working parents.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's really hard to give advice on that. I think Sheryl Sandberg had an amazing book on that, Lean In. So actually, just not taking yourself out of the game before you're changing something. Because I think families, they never have the right timing. There's no right timing to have children. You're always busy doing something else. And I think it's really important to just go and give it your best and take that promotion, even though you are trying to get pregnant. It doesn't matter. It's great. And I think all of this kind of really giving it, leaning in, and being an active member of that community is super, super important. And then obviously for us as kind of employers, we can also do a much better job at promoting. We have home office, we have glide side, so there's not a strict timing when you need to be in the workplace. We have a baby room, we have a nanny service, Notfall nannies who are there if your child gets sick. So I think we can do a lot more as employers to also foster that equality there.
Family, I wouldn't call it balance. I think we're constantly out of balance anyway, but at least try and attempt it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to answer that question. What is your favorite AMORELIE product? You can just skip that one. Shall I skip it?
No. It's my company. So I have to obviously say it's our Christmas calendar because it's our best-selling product and it has 24 in them. And
that was a diplomatic way out. So we're going to stay there. Okay, good. Actually, to sum up with, you also signed an entrepreneur's pledge.
Yeah.
And this whole Bits and Pretzels is about impact. So why did you do it, and what does it mean for your entrepreneurial journey?
Really good one. So I decided in the first place because Philipp and Waldemar from Einhorn pressured me so much, and they were so annoying that I was like, "You're getting my signature no matter what." And then I actually, and now I actually have coffee dates with them again and again and again. And I do think, I think Obama said something yesterday like that, right? So people who are well off should do good.
Yeah.
I truly believe that that people who have made it or had some success or whatever for a period of time, they need to give back. So the Entrepreneur's Pledge is actually you sign that you're going to start a company one day which is investing at least 50% of its profits back in a sustainable supply chain or in other charity foundations or whatever. And so I signed that, and so I'm excited to see when I'm going to start that.
Okay. So that means there is no clear
But I still have
plan
some
yet.
time.
You still have some
Luckily.
time. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Awesome. Any closing word to the
No,
people
I
who
think-
dedicated their attention to you?
No, thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm super excited to see what kind of startups and networks and so on come out of this Bits and Pretzels.
Well, thank you very much for all your learning. And this is for Lea.